This on TikTok today, so that's something different. You can't see the little phone off to the side here, but I have my phone on a tripod and I'm streaming this to TikTok live. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have a TikTok. I've got a couple thousand followers on there, mostly tech people, and so I kind of wanted to do this live coding stream for them also. If it's a little hard to read on your phone, then check us out at twitch.com, and I will play that really quick here. We are always live at twitch.tv, sorry, not twitch.com, twitch.tv/pluralsight_live. This is where we do all of our streams go there. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be going down to Vegas for AWS reInvent, and we're going to be doing some really cool streams from there. So you'll definitely want to follow us on Pluralsight Live if you're into AWS and cloud stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of that. Okay, so it looks like we're just not going to be on YouTube today, which is unfortunate. However, that's another good reason to follow us on Twitch, is because we're always on Twitch. Feel free to drop any questions or comments in the chat. I've got the chat loaded up here. There we go. So we're going to have to figure out how this What's My IP works. I am very certain that the server is what's showing on here. So let's go back and just kind of step through and look at how we were doing this before. If we go in here to our index, let's see, let's close some of these up really quick, kind of tidy up the code a little bit. And here we have a task called Get My IP. And what that does is that just makes a call to apfi.org. This is where we're going to have to spend our time. Hello, Transmetal Ghost. No, it's not really possible to get it from a header. That's one of the problems that we ran into, because what it does is this Blazor app generates all this JavaScript and HTML and shoves it down to the client in the browser. So it's a little bit different than like the traditional web API app. However, I'm open to explore any options today. Like I said, I don't actually know the solution. So I entered this stream today without a solution in mind, and we're going to go to Stack Overflow or something and just try some stuff that we see there. So here, if we go to api.org, it's just, there's no real API here. You're just sending a request. So how can we send an HTTP client request from the actual browser instead of the machine like we're doing here? And there might be something we can do with the HTTP client. Let's see what kind of options we have here. Sets the base address used when sending requests. So that might be something good to do, but we're going to have to get that. We'll have to get that client address somehow. I'm just going to comment this out as a possible solution. Setting the base address to the person instead of the server. Let's see what we have. Default proxy, default request headers. Content buffer size, timeout. So we don't really have anything here other than default proxy. That is another possible solution. And we're gonna start Googling. We're gonna do what developers do. Get IP address Blazor application. You can use a third-party IP such as IPFI, which we did that. I'm going to post this link in the chat that I'm looking at right now in case you want to check it out. drop that in the chat. Using a third-party API, such as IPFI, to get the IP address of the current request in Blazor in JSON format. But this is a workaround, which is exactly what I did. As of now, there's no way to achieve this. Oh, and it looks like hello, Marisuz, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from YouTube. So it looks like we did actually jump onto YouTube and go live. So that's awesome. So here's some JavaScript. Now I wonder, I didn't try this way, using some JavaScript in the HTML. I'm kind of doing something a little bit different. So, and it says here this is a workaround, so let's try it. Now up here we have what's my IP and an IP address. Let's go ahead and comment that out for now, since we're doing something different. And I need to jump on YouTube really quick. All right. Now we're good. Just as a reminder, you can't go into the chat and say crazy things or spam it or anything like that, because it'll be removed. This stream is a positive stream that does positive things. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste this from Eugene Chang's blog, and we'll see if it works. And I don't... to another static location. Yeah, I do need to do this, because I don't think I can put any actual JavaScript in a Razor page. And I do believe it said that on the blog to put it in, yeah, host CSHTML. Okay, get element by ID, tag name, head. And we need to get element by ID. We have to create an element with an ID in this to make this work. That would be kind of silly if this works perfectly the first time, because then I don't know what to do with the rest of the stream. We'll add something cool in here. Push play. I'm expecting an error, but we'll see. And right now I'm awkwardly staring at the TikTok thing. What's my IP? Looks like it is not producing anything. So let's jump into the dev tools here. WebSocket connection failed. I don't know what that means yet. So it is still pulling an address from that other IP that we're getting. We're located in Hillsboro, Oregon. So we'll go back to that blog and see. Oh. Do we need to put something in index razor also? Do we need to inject this? It looks like it. Oh, and it's a button on click. So we will just copy and paste this, and then we'll kind of make it our own, right? That's what we do. That's what we do as developers. And quick tech check again really quick. Oh, and I do see, let's see, chat here. Yes, that is, I see the chat on LinkedIn asking if it is the server address. And yes, I believe that is the server address. Which is why I'm having these results come up. So in our Razor page, let's just inject this code. We'll put this up at the top. Inject runtime. And like I said, we're just copying and pasting now just to make this thing work, and then we'll make it our own. Oh, look at that, it works. When I click the button, it gets the IP address. Now, before we do anything more, let's publish this thing to Azure really quick. And if this works, then we can really kind of change it, refactor it, make it ours, and then keep going. I've also got a METAR reader component. So METARs are weather reports that are sent out, and they're just a string of text. They're sent out from towered airports for pilots to read. And pilots, what they do is they just read it by hand and spot it and figure it out. We built a part of this application that interprets METAR readers or METAR strings and prints them out in a human readable, friendly format. And it works. So I published it to the Azure websites.net, and now I have a different IP address. So, and it's showing a different airport code, still showing an airport code for that. So, awesome. This works. Now we've got to do some refactoring. It's going to be a little, I think it's going to get a little hairy, but that's good. Because that's what makes an interesting live stream for me, is when things are, you know, not super easy. Like, I don't want to go on here and just write code and have it work every single time, because what fun would that be? So in here, we change the inner HTML to response IP. Let's get rid of this your IP address is. We don't necessarily need that information. We just need the IP address. We're going to call this as a part of our regular startup. Yep, that's right, Transmental Ghost. Writing code's only 10% of the job. I just said on a Twitter space the other day, and I swear by this. You're not paid to write code when you're a developer. You're paid to solve problems. So you have to look at it from a problem-solving point of view. And I think if I went on here and I solved all the problems super easy all the time, I think people would be really bored with it. But if they see me struggle with things and then figure out the solution, it's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more realistic. So let's see if we can just call this from get my IP, which is the first thing we do. Let's just see if we can call that without pushing the button. I don't want to push the button. Oh, geez. Statically rendered. Okay, after async lifecycle method. So it does have to be called at another point. That is super annoying. So I figured if I put the await in here for the get my IP, that would be fine. However, that code is not being processed yet. This code right here. Actually, I'm just going to yank this out. And I'll store it in Sublime somewhere or something in case we need it later. We'll get rid of this button on click. We'll figure out how to get this IP address after we render. I mean, we might have to delay it or something, but I really don't want to do that. Goodbye IP. Let's see, statically rendered. When pre-rendering is enabled, JavaScript interrupt calls only performed during on after render async cycle method. I mean, we could probably throw that in there instead of on initialized. I believe this one is a task also. We'll say on render. Throw it in there. However, none of our other stuff's going to work. That's the problem that I already see right now, is none of our other stuff is going to work because it'll be after the page is rendered, and the page needs to be rendered with that IP information. Okay, no suitable methods to override. That means this may not be called. Let's find out. Ally the Crow, don't forget bool first render. I've never used that before, so I'm not exactly sure how that works. And yeah, here we are. We're already getting null results because we need that IP address before we can do anything. So I think we should probably explore a different option other than this JavaScript one, because this is the original problem that we had, and why I tried to sidestep it in the first place is, let's see, is that nullable? Should probably just make all of those nullable, just so it moves forward. But yeah, I mean, this is the original problem we have, is this, all this JavaScript is bundled up and sent out beforehand. Let's take the Boolean parameter called first render, which allows the method to check if it's the first time in lifecycle. That is interesting. Bool first render. That's probably why the override didn't work. I didn't have the signature right. So what do I do? Like if it's not the first render, do it? I'm just guessing at this point, because like I said, I'm not familiar with this method at all. Ah, yep, and it's still breaking because we can't get any of the airports. We can't do any of that stuff without an IP address. So in my initialized, I'm not sure why I have this commented out twice. It needs to await something. Sheesh. Or it needs to, yeah, it needs to do something. I mean, it could. Yeah, I think there's just an ordering problem here that I really can't do much about. So if we do get my city. Actually, let's let's just step through, and what we'll do is we'll stop it before it hits that. And just kind of see where it goes until it hits our break point. There it is at our break point. Cool. On initialized async. Step forward. Step right to there. Our IP address is still null at this point. So maybe I can move these to... Something I could do is, instead of using this uninitialized, I can move these to the after render portion. That seems kind of hacky though. Get my IP. Yes, Blazor does have strange lifecycle effects. Absolutely right. I have noticed that too. I mean, it's so cool. Like, it's a cool thing, but the way it does it, but it's definitely a learning process. So if we invoke this async get address, that's going to populate this right here. So I wonder if I can bind this to IP address. Probably not. If I remember what I call IP address. Maybe if I can bind it to that, then I can jump in. Let me think about this for a minute here. This is probably going to bark at me for being null, but let me try it really quick. Okay, and we are here. Step it forward. Get nearby airports. Let's see. Our IP address is still null at this point, which is going to make that break. We'll just continue. And it is not going to continue after this, is it? Just throwing exceptions right and left. Yeah, there's no way this is going to work. Which is fine. It was a good idea. However, we do need that IP address. Now, maybe the one we show the users could be accurate. Maybe the one in the background. No, that won't work either. So throwing this stuff down here might work. It still seems rather hacky. If it's first render, get the IP, get new airports. We have to get city with IP address. So we're going to comment this one out. This has to be nullable because it will be null for a little bit of time. And same with this. If it's not null, we'll get a city from it and get nearby airports. Fun life cycle stuff. This is something that I definitely need to study a little more. Need to learn a lot more about Blazor life cycles. It will make my life easier. Here we go. Now we've got what's my IP? You're located in. It's getting close. But I have a feeling, and we're gonna grab this here. But I have a feeling that IP address is null. It's not populating it. If first render. Here, go over here for a little while, pal. I don't know where it is stopping at. Or if it's stopping there at all. Should be stopping here, right? Okay, yeah, so that's after it's rendered. Refresh it. Now we should be able to step. Perfect. So, it is first render, and then it just goes right through there, because first render is true. So, we'll say if it's the first render, then we'll get my IP. Yeah, let's just make all this happen on the first render and see how it breaks. One of my favorite things to say. Let's see how it breaks. Okay, await, get my IP. Let's see what IP address is now. It is null. But we should at least have an IP address. Yes, we do. We have an IP address here. So we just need to bind this back and then send it to the other ones. Which I thought that reverse binding would work. Let me check. I want to say it's bind value or something like that. I have it in another app. Yeah, bind dash value. It does not like that. Let's see if this works. Just plain bind. A little bit of guesswork going on here today. All right, so when we're back here, step through it. Yep, it's the first render. Get my IP, and the IP address is still null. So get my IP, we'll have to step into that and see what's going on there. I will figure this out one way or another. It may not be pretty, but I'm going to figure this out. Okay, we'll step into this. Yeah, in the JS runtime, invoke async. But it's still null. And if we go up here, it's still null, until we continue. Where are we stopped now? We're not stopped anywhere. So now we have this IP address. It's being displayed, but we got to get it back somehow. Tricky, tricky, tricky. How can we get that IP address? Like, where does it actually live? If we look here, autos, IP address is still null. Maybe. No, that's still gonna. Yes, I don't think I can get that value. I could do like in this text area here. Let's see what happens when I put it in the text area. I have a silly idea. Nope. Okay, and it does not populate it, which is what I was hoping for. Maybe in this text field, it would populate it, and then we grab it. Something like this. I'm going to try it. This is really hacky. However, it might be the exact hack that we need. Let's see if I can get it to populate that text field, and then we'll grab it out of there. Okay, so now it's populating in the text field. Now we're bound to IP address. A text field value, even though we're populating it, should be, and I don't see it in here. So let's go ahead and stop it like we did before. That's my IP. Okay, so everything is rendered, everything is good. Stepping in, IP address is still null, yet it's showing up here. So we need to find out how to bind to this in a way that makes sense. Bind value event. Let's look up something really quick. Let's Google something, because I'm forgetting it off the top of my head. And what we're going to look for is how to bind value text box Blazor. There should be a simple way to do this that I'm just completely forgetting about right now. Do I need to just bind it like that? That seems too easy, but let's try it. in here, start to step in. Get my IP. IP address is still null, but it's there. Let's see, else not the first render. Let's move that down there. I use Blazor Eyes and let it handle all this stuff for me. I've never used Blazor Eyes before. What is Blazor Eyes? It sounds cool, but today I'm just going to have to rely on doing it manually. Okay. Set my breakpoint. Let's start breaking. Let's click here. We'll step through. We did get my IP. And that's it. We refresh the page. First render is still true. So IP address is still null. And I'm just going to copy this, except we're going to put a text box in here. Or just a P value or something. Oh, yeah, input value does not. That's interesting. IP address does not exist in this context. Oh. Would help if I capitalized it. Let's run this really quick and just see if that value exists after we continue. And it does not. So it is not binding that value. We know for sure it's not binding that value, in spite of our request to bind that value. Try something really quick. I'm going to try typing in and changing it. Once we go through here. And now it looks like try something hacky here really quick. Once I exit that box, then it looks like it populates that value, which obviously isn't going to work. However, let's see if it finds it as not null. And I'm going to look up Blazor Eyes since it was recommended. I'm going Blazor Eyes. Complete Blazor UI library. Here, I'll display it on the screen for everyone. I'm going to leave this tab open for future research because I was unaware. But this is what's being mentioned in chat. Actually, we'll drop it in chat also. So this is what Ali the Crow mentioned. Modern UI components for Blazor, a set of 80 plus free and open source native Blazor UI controls, which is awesome, especially when I want to make this look prettier. I imagine that will help. So step through, first render. Yep, it's the first render. Get my IP. I'll come up here. And looks like I'll have to start it over here. I apologize, my throat's like really itchy. A runny nose for about a month. It's been awesome. Okay, first render true. And the IP address is still null on this. Let's see what the browser is showing. So yeah, this is definitely a... Okay, now this says first render false. Let's see what our page looks the same. So we're stepping down. Keep stepping through. Looks like it renders a few times here. Once again, I'm going to try to drop this in here. There's a lot of things about this code that I do not like. But we're trying to solve a problem. So if I change this and then exit it, the IP address is no longer null at this point. Get my city. So now it's the city that might be an issue. Yeah, city's still null. So we're making progress slowly, but like I said, I don't really like this code, so I don't think I will stick with this solution, but I want to try to make it work. So let's go up here to this one. Now it's trying to do get my city from my IP address, and something there is actually causing an issue. Let's just try running this without getting nearby airports. Yeah, for some reason this value has to change, and then I have to click out of it for it to re-render. Stepped away for a moment. Yeah, I haven't implemented Blazor Eyes, but I at least showed it there for people. Oh, and I haven't checked on my TikTok for a while. Looks like a few people are watching that. Thank you for watching on TikTok. Follow me on here. Follow me on Twitch also if you want to see actual code and stuff like that going on. Now I have a geo IP exception showing here because the IP address is not formatted properly. However, once I make this change, we'll refresh this really quick. So if I take this, change it to 5, click out of it, all of a sudden now we have an IP address, right? And now it works. basically we had to do that twice, which I don't like that at all. So it's going to make this text box hidden, I think, but there has to be some kind of, we have to fire some kind of event, I think, and I'm just not sure. I just really don't like this solution. I don't like anything about it. And usually I'm supposed to only do this for an hour, because that's what I always tell people. We're only doing it for an hour. However, I'm not really ready to set this one down yet. So if people don't mind, we will go longer than an hour, and we'll try to solve this thing. I'll try really hard to solve this thing. Doing my quick tech check really quick. Everything looks good. So yeah, I'm going to try to solve this thing, because there has to be a way to do this. So what's my IP? We're going to put in here, since this part actually works, your IP address is and then of course I'm going to have to send this to Azure again just to try it out. But we're binding this to IP address. So when this changes, that fires an event, kicks the whole thing going. It's terrible. There's nothing good about this. So even if I change 6 to 6 and then click out of it, that doesn't change the value. But if I change 6 to 5, change the value, then we see it populated here. Then on the third step, change it back to 6. Boom, we're back to where we need to be. This is not a good solution. But let's push it to Azure really quick and see how it behaves there. And then we're going to come back to it. But I think we're going to try a totally different solution. I think I'm going to go back onto back to the Bings or the Googles and see, because this yeah, this isn't really working that great. So you're published, and now it's popping up. Today's stream is brought to you by Quality H2O. Ice water is what I drink on the stream, and the occasional Bang energy drink. But always water. Okay, so this actually works on the Azure site. It says, what's your IP address? Your IP address is blank. You're located in Hillsboro, Oregon. I'm not sure why it's putting a return there now, but it's fine. Hillsboro, Oregon, United States. Nearest airport, we're not looking up the airport right now, so we're not too worried about that. However, I don't like this. I don't like this solution. Because we're going to have to find a way to change that value. And yeah, it's just too hacky. There is such thing as too hacky for something this simple. And I feel like this is way too hacky. So instead of having it be this hacky, I've got to figure out how to get that IP address some other way. Hack everything. I know. That's the problem. Like, if I, had huge deadlines and pressures and everything else, there's a point in my programming career where I may have figured this out this way and sent it. However, it's too hacky, especially when we're trying to learn here. We don't want to learn the terrible way to do it. Let's just try get nearby airports for fun. Yes, this would be the perfect thing to deploy on a Friday. Change the value. Cool. Change it back. Cool. And the airport lookup works. As long as we have that IP address. There's like a chain reaction, right? It goes IP address to city, then takes that city and does that lookup to find the nearby airport, etc. But yeah, how do I get that IP address without it? Let's try something else. I do like this on after render async thing. That's pretty cool. And it looks like I keep closing my Edge window here. The reason I'm using Edge is because I have Chrome set up to actually run the stream, so I don't want to confuse the two, and I don't want to open and close windows, so I have it set up to go to Edge, and then I use Edge as the browser on the stream, which then means I'm using Bing for, let's see, IP address for Blazor. This is where we found that, or I could just go back in the chat and find that. That's what I was actually looking for, was that blog post. Which the blog post was very honest and said that this is a hack also. Following APFI. So this blog post and this code snippet is actually accurate if you just want to display the IP address. We were able to get there. We were able to do that. However, now we want to use that IP address later. Use invoke async, state is changed on a private method. You bind to the component, which would tell, hey, re-render, something happened to it. Yeah, that could work. Let's see what other solutions we have. And we want something from the past year. Here's Blazor server access IP address. Let's see what this issue is. Should be able to access IP and other information about connecting client directly from Blazor. Oh, and I've seen this before, and this didn't work the last time I did it. And how's this issue been resolved? It hasn't been resolved. And they said to do that in host HTML, which I think is interesting. I'm assuming I've got to surround this with code. Name request does not exist. Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to. So I don't know what kind of answer that was. Blazor server app. Pass it to your root component. Has anyone else tried this? ASP.NET allows you to access current HTTP context. Yeah. X forwarded for header. Okay. Now we are using a. We might be able to snag this code. Get client IP. Because we are using a. I'm going to try this, just this part really quick. And do a little copy paste from Stack Overflow. And assume we will have to probably do and get my IP. This is probably where we have to do it. So I'm going to comment this out. HTTP context accessor. Yeah, that's another thing that might. The HTTP context accessor. That's an old one from ASP.NET Core, but good point. Maybe we can try that. Probably, yeah, probably have to do that in host. Actually, let's look that up really quick and see if somebody else has done that in Blazor. This one's pretty old. Oops. That doesn't seem like it's going to work either. Here we go. So we're just going to undo that. And here's someone talking about passing values. ID. I don't think I want to look through all of those. Pass the values to the app from CSHTML. Let's see what they're doing in their CSHTML. Pages, host. Actually, I don't see where they're doing that at all. Pre-rendered. Data? No. Where is this CSHTML? Oh well, we'll still keep going. Quick tech check here really quick. Live and rolling. Cool. All right, so this is the part where I got to sit and think about it for a minute. Nobody on TikTok has suggested anything, unfortunately. Hello, Thindle. I am stuck in a tar pit today. You might be glad to know, because it'll be interesting. Should be client. Try this one again. Oh, so Thindle, I know you've been following this thing for quite a while. The original IP lookup does not work on Azure. So when we go to an Azure website, it shows the IP address of the server that it lives on. So now we're going back to the very original thing that we started on this stream, which was getting an IP address. We're going back and getting that because that has to be, yeah, that has to work before anything else can work. Oh, look at this. This is the exact problem I'm having. This is one of the reasons I love Stack Overflow. And there's no answer for it. But I'm going to bookmark it because if I find the answer, then I'm going to give this person the answer. So, yeah. Third-party API, or run this, return the address where the server is hosted, which every user got the same server IP. That's exactly what I've run into here. So, that's cool and all, but yeah, I'll go back and update that when I figure this out. I'm not going to watch a video. Let's see. Let's put client IP address for Blazor. How do I get it? Solved it for server-side Blazor is create a class you can then inject as a scope service in your host HTML. Your pages already have support for this. Well, I'm ready to try it. I no longer have a startup CS, but I can add that in program. So let's try it. New item. We're going to create a new class. Blazor. What was that name? That was a good one. Blazor app context. That's a good name. It's a fantastic name. And in Blazor app context, current user IP. And then startup CS, configure services. I think we're doing that in program CS now. So builder services, add scoped, Blazor app context. We'll add that little singleton in there. And then back in startup or host CHML, we will put these two things in. Blazor app context. What do you mean? Or is it using data? There we go. Less squigglies. Oh, nope, still. Yeah, I think I need to inject data also. It should be static. Where are we going here? Blazor app context. Yeah, we'll just inject it. That'll be easier. Program. Context. There we go. Back over here. still need to do using data. Inject that. Change this. Inject all the things. Include, yeah. I know. Right, that's the problem with writing different things in different languages. So I do a lot of stuff in C#, in Python, and Go, and some C++, not very much anymore, thankfully. I do not like C++. Let's just see if this will build with all the wild changes I've made in the last 20 minutes. Oh man, got quite a few viewers on the TikToks today. Build succeeded. So I should be able to pull this into our Razor now. Yeah, this is a good time to question if you're going to need XSRF protection. Absolutely. Oh. How did I inject that in there? Builder services. Index. Where are we at here? Get my IP. This should work, right? I don't want to do that. Use regex for parsing HTML. Yeah. I figured I'd be able to just grab this, but maybe not. Should be able to just grab that little thing as a singleton here. Should be able to just use it just like that. I don't want to use expression body for methods. I mean, I could, since it's the only thing I'm doing here, but that doesn't seem like the solution at all. Maybe I need to use it up here. Now, maybe. It's been a long road, but let's see if it works. Nope. No service for H has been registered. So I need to register that too? Go back to program here. I didn't see anything in there about that, but it would make sense. Scope register services behave like singletons. I knew that. However, the Blazor server hosting model supports the scope lifetime. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to do that. I don't have a lot of faith in it though. I don't think it's going to share the same context. Where is our... development. Go back to host. Possibly no reference. Yep. Add a container in startup. I do not have startup.cs. It is all done in here. I see what you mean. Adding it in here. I see what you mean. Is it just me, or does this seem like a ton of work to grab an IP address? HTTP context successor. Alright, try building this thing. Seems like there has to be an easier way to get an IP address. Yep, null reference. Not been registered. Will not build. So HTTP context successor should. Yeah, I'm thoroughly confused by this way of doing it. Null reference exception. It's called by the runtime. Figure services. We did that. We added that context. Builder services add. Nice. What Ali said. Go back here. can do it that way instead of adding a scoped. All right, we don't need to pass anything in. No generic. All right, so now we're stopped here. Let's see where we're at. IP address is still null. Still null. See, the contact successor is not registered. So maybe I still need to register it. Or just need to move these around a little bit. Ask for the interface. Yeah, usually the order doesn't matter with the stuff, but nope. Oh, I see what you're saying. Add HTTP contact successor and go back to host. Inject. So try to inject the interface here. Oh, and the razor. Oh, we aren't injecting there yet. Getting closer. Let's see what we have now. Oh, still have a null IP address. Didn't explode. Nope, but it's getting closer. So I am injecting the Blazor app. Yeah, Blazor app context. But I need to figure out this is where I think my problem is. Blazor app context, current user IP null. Let's see, HTTP contact successor. It's got some static members. It's got nothing here. This HTTP context. Connection is null. I wonder, I mean, it still shouldn't be null if we're running it locally. You have HTTP context request in there. Let's find out. Request. We have request body, response body. Yep. Side method is not supported. You had remote IP something there. Request body. Length remote IP address, which, yeah, that's the one that we're trying to get here. And then, let's see, address, data. Jeez. Nothing in here. Error code, inner exception, null. Yeah, it probably is a local host. Let's see. Well, if this thing will build, I'll shove it over to Azure just to see, and we'll test that. It will build, so let's publish it to Azure and check it there. But I will definitely have to figure this out. Oh, Visual Studio update today. All right. Naturally. Publish succeeded. There we go. Friendly portal. Address is not displaying it. Probably because I haven't put any code in there to display it. I've commented all of that stuff out. So let's go back here really quick. And IP address is IP address. IP address is IP address. This await get my IP. And now we're going to take this and we're going to go back to the original here. Instead of this after render nonsense that we're trying to do. Press this, watch it explode. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do, is like grab it with host and just store it and then use it for all of the future things. So you continue. We're right here. Continue again. No, let's view it. Yeah, that looks like IPv6 issue right there. So we're gonna, on our original one, we're gonna get my IP. And I'm gonna send this to Azure again. Yeah, and like Thindle's saying on Twitch, you can't, once Signal R comes into the process, you can't get that IP address anymore. Nope, it flashed it and then it disappeared. That was wacky. Flash, disappear, flash, disappear. That's probably all the other wild stuff we were doing in the beginning. So let's jump back in there and see. We were doing a lot of wild goofing around the first hour. It's your IP address. We're going to take this and I don't think we need this text area anymore. I'm going to pull all that JavaScript nonsense out of here, this JS runtime. And then back in our host, we put some JavaScript in there, function get address, all this. We're going to this stuff out. And then weather, not weather razor, index razor. Your IP address is IP address. Get my IP should be called right away. And then get my IP should just be this. I believe. Yeah, it's going to run synchronously. That's fine. Let's try this out. That's pretty. Actually, yeah, we're going to publish it to Azure. And if I can't get it by the second hour, then we'll just jump back into it later. Flashes, disappears. Not sure what that's all about. It just says it here. Let's see where else this is being used. On after race. Oh, we're still calling this on after render async. So maybe that's part of the problem. Let's just comment that whole thing out. We don't necessarily care about that anymore. Well, for now. Just testing to see if this will run locally. I'm 99.99% certain it won't. Well, it's showing your IP address is :1. So that's something, right? Publish this out. It's getting close. It's very close. You can see it. It's line of sight, as they say. And I don't know why it disappears like that. Your IP address is IP address. Where on earth is it being overwritten? IP address. We're not even calling get my guitar data. We're only calling this one. This does make it a little tricky. Let's step through this stuff locally and see what the heck it is we're looking at. Right here, get my IP. Step to the next. IP address is null. Blazor app context. Current user IP ::1. So we step to that. Now IP address is ::1. Now we're jumping out of here. And we're calling it once again. Why are we calling it twice? And as you can see here, we have the ::1. So we have our IP version 6 IP address in here populated. And now we're going back to get my IP for some reason. Let's see what that now says. My current user IP is null. and it's setting it to null. So why on earth is it doing that? Get my IP should only be called that one time. All right. I wonder if I need to do that first render thing again and just stop it from calling it twice. Yeah, this one's a little tricky. But I could probably do get my city from here. If IP address is not null. I imagine could do that. But this is weird. Uninitialized async. Can you pass in first render on this one? Negative. All right, so this is the first time we're calling get my IP. Cool. And IP address. IP address is populated. If it's not null, we'll go to get my city. We'll get the city. And then go. And then it calls back to get my IP again. Ah, it's so weird. That is so weird. It's calling back to get my IP again. Oh yeah, so it says is Malibu says find my get my IP references. There's only one. That's what's a little weird. Maybe I should just, instead of using this asynchronous task, what does the creator business model look like at Pluralsight? Not really sure if I understand the question. Like creator as in authors and DevRels? Authors? That's something that I could definitely chat with you about in depth. If you want to shoot me an email, jeremy-morgan@pluralsight.com. And yeah, I could definitely talk to you about that. You're paid for every time someone views your course with it. So it's a really cool model. I would get my city is not awaitable. So current. And this isn't great, but let me try this. And we still have an issue with that. IP address equals this current user IP. Get my city code takes the IP address and turns it into a city using another API, a GeoIP database. So basically the very first part of this application just gets your IP address and shows it to you, and then it takes that IP address and finds a city from it. Then we take that city and try to find airports nearby. So it's kind of a chain reaction where this first thing has to be working for anything else to work. So this might actually work on Blazor. Let's find out. Or on Blazor, on Azure. Let's find out. Let's shove it up to Azure again. I think I'm going to have to make this thing support IPv6 addresses. Is what it sounds like. And the IP address appears and then disappears again. So something is quite strange about that. Let's really dig into this silly thing here. IP address is being bound in one spot. Your IP address is here. Let's make sure. These timing things are so silly with Blazor. Only one. Re-renders. It renders on the server and gets the IP, then it re-renders on the client and sets it in the Blazor app context again. Which it should not do. Yeah, singleton should only load once. Here, back to the Googles. Thindle brings up a very great point. Singleton will be shared between requests for all users. Yeah, so it should be scoped so that everyone doesn't have the exact same IP address. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I could do yeah, exactly like you said. If it's null, set it. That way it doesn't try to set it twice. All right, open this up. Are we hung up on anything? Does not look like we're hung up on anything. Yep, it is still overriding it somehow. Interesting. I wonder if I could, like, I don't know, set it to read only. Pass it in. I'll try that. seems like a silly solution here, but Control X, I'll cut the whole row. Yeah, I should use a lot more shortcuts than I do. Let's see it. That doesn't actually work very well either. If it's read only. I guess that isn't really going to work either. Because I have to have that IP upon creation. HTTP context successor. Yeah, this one's a little tricky. Let's undo all of this for now. And yeah, there has to be a way I can lock it in. And if the connection's not null, because maybe it's trying to assign it while it's null after it crosses into the signal R part of it. Doesn't appear to be the case. Yeah, that is much shorter. Much shorter way to do it. Thanks. So on Twitch, there was a suggestion here, just remove the question mark so it doesn't allow nulls. So complete refactoring on the way. And so Thindle just put a suggestion in here. Let's take a look at it. I'm ready to try anything at this point. Pretty much. Drag this over here. User device. I would like the option to get user location. Oh yeah, and this one uses JavaScript interop again, which that's what we tried earlier and didn't work because we could get the value in JavaScript just fine, but we couldn't pass it from JavaScript back into our C# part of it. Let's see what this is. Yeah, all of these use some kind of, because I can get the IP address, the correct IP address to display with JavaScript. I just can't pass it back into all the C# stuff where we need it without doing it by hand. And so I'm going to have to Yeah, and so I'm going to have to close it down here because I've got a bunch of other stuff to do and meetings and things like that. So I am going to have to shut it down on our second hour, but I'm really curious. Like, I have to figure out how to make this work somehow. No, it has an HTTP module for networking stuff. Yeah. And it seems like every time I search for this, I kind of run into the same stuff. Like, it's not really possible, but it's definitely possible. We just have to figure out how, and then I want to go to some of these Stack Overflow things and add the answer for people. Hello, Ahmed. I'm doing well. Just getting ready to close this down for the day. So this is something that we'll have to think about and figure out. In the meantime, if people want to check out my progress, this is our friendly portal. And yeah, I'm going to keep working on this. Can't give up now. But this one I feel like is really close. So I'm going to have to figure out. This one I just feel like it's really close. Yeah, refresh it and then it overwrites it for some reason. Oh, that's what we were originally doing. And so at the beginning of the stream, I kind of explained. So originally we were making an HTTP call to, and it wasn't JSON IP, but it was something very similar. And it works great locally. But once you publish it onto the Azure server, then it makes that call from the Azure server. And so you get the IP address from the Azure server, which is pretty much something that I didn't discover because I was always running this thing locally until I went to push it to Azure and then found out. But because it was really easy at first. It was like, oh, this is cool. I think I have it commented out here somewhere. But yeah, I just feel like this is really close. And I would love to be able to just have that thing. I'm going to research this. I'm going to get off here and do my meetings and all that fun stuff and work on some other stuff. But I'm going to research this and try to look for some solutions. And if I come up with it, I'll come back on the stream and jump onto it. Or we'll just jump on and keep doing what we're doing until we figure it out. But I do want to say thank you to every single person who's come onto the stream today, come into the chat to talk about this. The people that follow us, really want to say thank you. Remember, we're streaming on 3 different platforms today, 4 different platforms today: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all over the place. But we're always streaming on Twitch. And one of the things that we're going to focus on Twitch, and Twitch is the one that's always streaming on. Sometimes it messes up with YouTube. Sometimes it messes up with Twitter, but it always goes to Twitch. So that's why I keep playing this thing over and over, saying, follow us on Twitch. We are Pluralsight_live on Twitch. Twitch is also where the cool kids hang out. And yeah, this is where we're going to be doing this stuff. And next, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be going to AWS reInvent in Las Vegas, and we're going to do streams from there that are going to be really interesting. We're going to stream them right here on Twitch. It's going to be cool. It's going to be myself and Matthias, one of my coworkers. We're going to try to find cool people to interview and talk about. We're going to talk about what's happening there at AWS reInvent, and it's going to be awesome. So be sure to check us out, twitch.tv/pluralsight_live. Oh, and we have another tip here. Thank you, Thindle. Hello, Surly Dev. Copy link address. I'm going to put this aside for future research. Blazor geolocation. So yeah, there might have been something that they have figured out in here that we can use. JS call return in C# and JS code to be called callback to .NET. Awesome. So yeah, I'll have to check this out and see. Location service CS. Let's check it out really quick. So we're injecting JS runtime, which is what we did before. Let's see, requests. It's invocable, receive response. Yeah, this is definitely worth checking out. So I'll look at this and see if we can steal something out of that. We'll totally give them credit here in our repo if we can get something out of that. And be sure to come say hi on our Discord. The address is right there. I think I'm pointing correctly. discord.gg/pluralsight. We can also discuss it in there. I'll start posting some of this stuff in here so that people can kind of catch up and get the hang of what we're doing. But again, I gotta go. Gotta go back to my work of the day, and I want to say thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you for checking it out. You can watch the replay on YouTube. If you're curious about what happened earlier in this 2-hour-long stream, it won't be the last 2-hour-long stream we do, but thank you everybody for showing up. This has been awesome.